Getting started for this, let's get Smaart booted up. And of course, I just booted it in the background. Please start fresh every time. Make your own configuration. If you keep the current configuration, you will not learn how to use Smaart. So create new configuration is the way to go. It's gonna kind of erase my previous setup. Takes me right here to the configurator. I want to select the driver for my interface. In this case, it is the Oct Capture. So let's do the Oct Capture, and it's going to suggest that I use all of my inputs. I don't want to use them, so I click that button right there, and I'm just going to turn on inputs 1 and 2, which will be a lot more like your system, and hit OK. And it starts with the screen started small, so I'm going to enlarge it. And it did automatically make me the 2 spectrum engines for those 2 inputs. I'm going to turn one on. And you can see some input coming in. What you will be doing at this point, if you had followed instructions, the written instructions, you would be having music playing through the PA right now. And so you'd turn on input 1. Input 1 would have the measurement mic plugged into it. You would turn on phantom power, and you would turn it up. I'm not using a measurement mic. I've got some music playing from another Pro Tools rig. I'm just going to crank up the preamp. We want to see about the point where it turns yellow. That's about -12. That's where Rational Acoustics recommends a transfer curve be set up as for inputs. It's about -12. That input is going to be way too loud for measuring SPL, but for alignment and stuff, that makes sense. So let's get input 2 calibrated as well. Input 2 is fed from the right output of the console. So your console, the stereo bus, is feeding both the loudspeaker processor and the speakers from the left output and from the right output back here into input 2 of your interface. So in a few minutes, you can make a transfer curve. I'm going to just take this plug and plug it into input 2. And I need to get its level up. I'm looking for the same preamp settings I had on the other one. Because, of course, with a transfer curve, we're going to want it to be flat. We'll see that in a few minutes when we get to the transfer curve. But I've confirmed that input 2 is working. Don't need it for my first objective, though. Let's go back to the instructions, and we've gotten through getting started. The first objective here is for you just to make a transfer curve, make a spectrum measurement of the microphone coming in. And, of course, that's what we're looking at right here with measurement. Whoop, I want to move it back to input 1. And turn off input 2. No need to monitor the reference input. And please do double pane and get the spectrograph going. If you need to, adjust the sensitivity settings. And when you've got it, when you're all happy with this, feel free to mess with banding and averaging if you want. But when you're happy with this, you're going to name a spectrum trace. So your name.lab A4. So you know how this works. Hit spacebar and please name it Eric.Lab A4. Cool. That puts a nice trace over here. And really what I'm going to be looking at is a screenshot. So do that too. Make a screenshot of this entire screen. I want to see everything to kind of see that you've done all the steps. And then, of course, name it your first name, lab.a4.spectrum, and set it aside because you will turn it in. Okay?